So we covered the beginning part of our gospel reading in the Are You Willing to Be Challenged talk. And now I would like to unpack the second part of our gospel reading, Jesus' message about rest. Research has shown that sleep disorders have increased by around 40% since the beginning of the COVID pandemic. And that's not surprising, is it? Because people are worried. People are worried about their health, their families, their livelihoods. And research has also shown, and here is something that many of the younger people in our community might relate to, but research has shown that to enable people to relax enough to fall asleep, more and more and more people are watching YouTube videos late into the night. So feel free to re-watch this sermon if you have any difficulty in dropping off in the coming days. It's not a laughing matter, and I've suffered from insomnia for about 10 years, and so I really sympathise with the population behind the rising statistics. Not being able to fall asleep or falling asleep and then waking up continuously is just exhausting. And people tend to have all sorts of remedies and strategies to help get to sleep. And one of the things that I try to do is to remember scripture verses, especially those about rest or sleep. For instance, in peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. Or my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from him. And finally, the verse that we had this morning from Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest, says Jesus. So who was Jesus talking to in this passage? Well, I think two types of people who could find no rest. First, those at the time who were being burdened by the religious laws of the day. And the law was never meant to be a burden. When it was given to Moses in the wilderness, it was given to make the people turn away from their sins and turn them back into a relationship with God. But the religious zealots of the day, the scribes, the Pharisees, they turned the law into a burden. They made it full of rules. You must do this, you must do that, in order to gain your salvation. Secondly, Jesus also directed it at all those who were suffering from life and all its anxieties. All those suffering from addictions or suffering all sorts of health problems, whether they be spiritual, mental, or physical. Something we can all probably relate to, as for many of us, worry and anxiety has increased over the last 3 or 4 months. Jesus is saying to the people then and now, here I am, come to me. I'm not about rules. I'm the answer to all your anxiety. Come and get to know me. Come one, come all, And most importantly, come as you are. Christianity begins by meeting Christ personally. It begins when we accept his invitation to simply come. Instead of trying to cope on our own with the difficulties that life brings, Jesus wants us to let him carry our burdens. The things that are weighing us down or the things that are too heavy for us to carry. How often have you tried to do something on your own? Try to carry something or lift something really heavy, and you just get to the stage when you think, I need help. I can't carry this, it's too heavy. That happens to me every time I go to IKEA. But how much easier is it when we go and find someone else, someone to help us? And have you ever experienced that relief when you are worried about something and you just don't know what to do, and you take it to the Lord in prayer? And when you've given him your heart, your worries, suddenly you find his peace. When we say, Jesus, I cannot manage this on my own anymore. This is too heavy. Take it from me. When we unburden ourselves to Jesus, we then have the opportunity to uncloud our minds from all that clamour that's just rattling around in our heads. You know, the continuous lists of we must do this and we must do that, or worse, when we think, if only I'd done this or done that differently. And these are the things that rattle around in our head when we can't find rest, when we can't get to sleep. The rest that Jesus promises is one of love and healing. It doesn't promise the end of all labour. What it promises is that wearisome toil will turn itself into spiritual productivity and purpose. Jesus says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Jesus offers us his yoke and the opportunity to learn from him. When we hear the word yoke today, we probably think of eggs. But it's not that Jesus is talking about. Jesus is talking about a wooden crosspiece that went over the necks of two farm animals and attached them to the plough or to the cart that they are pulling. Yokes were made for two, and in this verse Jesus is saying, come next to me, share my yoke, learn from my gentle and humble heart. It's like this. One day a man went to see a farmer who was ploughing his field with a team of oxen. The man noticed that one of the animals was a lot bigger than the other, so he asked him about it. And the farmer said, well, that big animal, that was the older one. It was strong, it was well trained. And the other, the smaller one, was a young animal, and it was new to the yoke. The man asked why he would put them together, such a size difference, such a difference in experience. The farmer said, well, it's like this. The older ox is the best ox that I've ever had. He knows his way around the field. The reason I put the younger one with him is so that the older, more knowledgeable ox can teach him how to plough. If I never put them together, the younger one would simply never learn. And by himself, the young ox would pull himself to death trying to plough a field. But together with the older one, he learns to cooperate, to rest in the strength and the experience of the older ox. So next time you are anxious and life's stresses and strains get too much for you, close your eyes and think of that young ox. You don't have to pull so hard because Jesus is with us. His commands are simple. Then and today, he says to us, come, take, learn, and then rest. Amen.